Okay, so anyone that has one of these EP boosters is probably aware that inside they have two little dip switches, one of which is a bright switch. And I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I feel like with the bright switch off, the pedal is too dark and too muddy, but with the bright switch on, it's excessively bright. Um, So I just thought, even though with the bright switch on, overall the pedal's clearer and cleaner, I thought if we could just shave off a little bit of that high end, it'd be so much more usable. So what I decided to do after a lot of experimenting with different caps or whatever, I ended up wiring up just a standard guitar tone pot with a .022 microfarad cap, of course, ground wire to the casing, middle wire, middle lug, on the input. And I wired it up to the circuit board input of the pedal, so because we don't want it on the bypass, you want, when it's bypassed, you want to bypass the tone as well. So anyway, I wired it up, played with it for a while, found the certain perfect sweet spot, and then what I ended up doing was getting my multimeter, setting it to the range of about 200K, and I measured where I had the pot set, which came in right at 120K. So then I grabbed a 120K resistor, wired it in line with the .022 microfarad cap, and wired it right into the pedal, so it's set. Now, if you could find a pot small enough to fit in one of these, which you probably could, you could have an adjustable tone. Maybe drill out on the side and have a tone control. I was looking for more of a set thing. Oh, and then after that, I thought, well, what if I want to bypass that, and just have it more in a stock mode? So I ended up wiring it to a bypass switch on the side. Now, what I have here, this is a real, legitimate EP booster. This is a Chinese knockoff. You find these online, really dirt cheap. The jacks are kind of flimsy and cheap, but they sound pretty good. I figured it's a good pedal to experiment with. So this is the one I did the mod on. So before we get going, let's open these up and take a look at the inside of them. Okay, so I have both the real EP booster and the Chinese knockoff here ready to go. You can see the real EP booster is a little bit thicker, and you can see also it's wired up to use a battery where the Chinese one is not, probably because there's not enough room in the Chinese one to put a battery. Now, I've already done the mod on the Chinese one, but I unsoldered the one end from the switch so I can show you what I did. Now, if you don't use the battery on the real EP booster, you have a little bit of room. You probably could put a tone pot, even a mini trim pot or whatever, maybe drill a hole in the side where you could access it with a little screwdriver or something so you could actually have it adjustable. For what I did, I just made it a set thing. Now the dip switches on these, I guess on the older ones of these, the first switch was a bass boost. The newer ones now, like this one, it's a 3 dB gain boost. And then the number 2 setting is the treble boost, which is the only one we're really worried about at this point. The first one's kind of irrelevant. So what we want to do, if I can get this where we can see it. Okay, we have light. Okay, so on the triple pole double throw switch, you got 3 individual sets of poles here. That one of them is usually is going to be for the LED, and then the other one you're going to use for switching. Now, what this does on one side of the switch, it's going to connect these, the left with the center. On the other side, it's going to connect the right with the center. So if we trace where the wires are going, we look at the hot right here from the input This is your positive from the tip of your guitar cord. You look at this. This cable is, or this wire is going to here, middle left, and then there's a jumper wire that's going from that over here to the, the upper right. And if we look at this one, let's see. This is the hot of the output jack. That's going to the middle upper. So what's going on here with this switch is when these two are connected, you're getting basically the input is going to here and then connecting with this, which is giving you a true bypass straight shot from the input jack to the output jack. Now when it's switched the other way, this circuit is broken, or this connection is broken, and this input from the input jack is being connected to the center one. Now this center plug, if we trace the wire to it, it's going along here and going into the circuit board. So that right there is the input of the circuit board. And that's where we want to put the our tone pot. We're going to wire the tone pot from here right along with the input wire. I'm just going to basically wire it right to that lug, and then the other part of the tone, which here's a tone, and basically the tone is exactly like a guitar. This is the same as a guitar tone, where you got the left lug is open, the center lug is got a wire attached to it, and then your capacitor is going to ground on your third lug, and then you got a ground wire. So the ground wire is just going to be grounded to really anything, anything ground on here, which the easiest thing is to ground it to the ground of one of the input or output jacks. Now this wire going into the tone, that's going to go right on that center lug. So let me wire that up real quick. Okay, now for this I just have this alligator clip with the ground clipped to the casing, and I actually have the input going into the pot right there on that center lug, if you can see it. It's just temporarily soldered there for now, and we're going to play with this and kind of get an idea of what we want. Okay, so here we have, right now the switch is off, so this is kind of the dark. I mean, it doesn't sound that bad here, but this, I'm not using this in my entire rig. But it's a little dark. Let's turn the bright switch on, which is, see that, man, that is just excruciatingly bright on the, so with the tone hooked up now, right now it's all the way up, so let's roll it back a little bit. Back a little more maybe. Just go way down here. It's a little too dark maybe. But basically, once you find the sweet spot, like I said, you could wire it up to a tone pot and actually have it variable, or if you just want to mod the pedal like I did using this disconnected circuit thing here, this is how I come to figure this out. Is I actually let me grab my multimeter. Okay, so now once I found my sweet spot where I really liked it, I'm going to measure this pot where it is, and I'm going to measure the outside lug where the the capacitor is soldered to, and the center lug where the input wire is soldered to. Okay, and my meter says 120. So, 119.9, 120. So this capacitor in line with a 120K resistor is going to give me this same thing, which is what I actually, if you look at what I did here, that's a 0.022 tone cap, just like you'd use on a Fender, Strat or Tele or whatever. In fact, I think it's the actual Fender cap that came out of my Telecaster originally, and then I have it soldered in line with 120K resistor, and my solder connection looks like crap. But anyway, that's what I did. Now, real quick, let me explain what I did here. If you notice, there's a switch here on the side that I put on. That is to bypass this. So what I have going here is this is on one side of the switch is going to the ground on one of the input jacks. So the switch is grounding, the mod is going to the switch. So obviously when the switch is on, it's connecting it and sending it to ground. When I turn the switch off, it's disconnecting it. It's bypassing it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to unsolder my pot, and I'm going to solder the end of this back onto this lug again. Okay, so now that I have this wired up, let's take another look at what I did. The black thing right there, that's heat shrink that I have over the cap and the resistor. So, just so it doesn't touch anything. So it's going, see, I'll point right here, center lug in the middle, soldered, which is going right along with this wire that's going into the circuit board. That's your input of the circuit board wire. So that's where the resistor, which is then soldered to the cap, you can see the end of the cap right there, and then the wire right here going to the switch, which then in turn is going to the ground of the input jack. Now, if you had a pot, you maybe wouldn't necessarily need the switch, so the pot would go, from the input of the wire going into the center lug of the pot would go where this is, and then the ground wire coming off the pot would go right to the ground of the input jack. So that's what I got going there. There's like I said, there's the switch on off, labeled M and S, which is mod and stock, so I know. So when it's sitting on the floor on the circuit or on the pedal board, in between, I can look down and see it. I put a little drop of white out on the switch so I could see it. So anyway, that's what we got there. Okay, so I have the pedal back on the board. I'm running into this AC30. I have the bright switch on, but the mod is off. So this is in stock mode right now. So this is with the mod. Without the mod, stock again. Yeah, that's really bright. In the stock mode, I don't know how much of this is actually coming across on the video, but when you're actually sitting here, the stock mode is very, very bright. And to be honest, I actually did this mod a long time ago. It just took me a long time to get around to making the video. But I've actually been out gigging on the road with this for probably almost a year. and I've been super happy with it. It really fixed a long time issue that I've had with this pedal. But anyway, if you like the video, hit subscribe. If you have any questions, put it in the comments and I'll try to answer what I can. So anyway, thanks for watching.